Hey, let's play a guessing game. Come on, it'll be fun. Okay, I'm playing a first-person platforming game where the goal is to solve environmental puzzles in order to find the right path to the end. You play as a female character, and it has a theme song called Still Alive. Am I talking about Portal or Mirror's Edge? Okay, to be fair, these two games really have nothing in common beyond the elements I just mentioned, but those were the first things that stuck out to me. But if we did go along with this scenario, I suppose the question to ask would be whether or not the game has a sense of humor, as Portal was obviously and famously written with a very twisted and wonderful sense of wit about it. However, I'm not here to compare Mirror's Edge to Portal. I've noticed that Mirror's Edge has gotten a lot of criticism, some deserved and some not, and I just wanted to offer up my own take on the game. First, one of the main criticisms this game receives is that you die a lot, and that you often have to stop and examine the environment before proceeding, and that this breaks up the flow of the game. Personally, I didn't have a problem with that because those are common elements of a video game. You have to learn how to play the game, and you're going to die a lot at first. That's just how it goes. I mean, as for stopping to examine the environment, it just makes sense to me to work out where I want to go before charging in face first at full speed. And if I did study parkour, I'd imagine that you would probably have to practice for a long time before showing off at the level you're expected to here. This really only becomes a problem in the later levels where you're constantly being chased, and you don't really have the time to figure out where to go. And this leads to a point where I think Mirror's Edge is rightly being criticized. The enemies. Look, a first-person parkour game is a great idea, but a parkour game where you're frequently stuck in cramped environments, surrounded by enemies that can kill you with just a couple of hits, yeah, not so much. It's not so bad when you only have one or two guys to deal with. In fact, it feels really badass when you're able to get the timing down and disarm everyone like it's nothing. But that's usually not the case. Most of the time, I'd hit the disarm button at just the wrong moment, and the dude would gunfuck me in the face until I died. And even if you do manage to steal a weapon, it runs out of ammo way too quickly. I don't know, I can deal with the fact that the gun controls aren't that great, and I know the idea is you're not supposed to be too dependent on weapons, but is it too much to ask for a gun that won't run out of bullets before I can cough? I mean, either that or make it so I don't have to face off against 5 of those assholes at once. And let me be clear that even though the game encourages you to run away most of the time, there are far too many spots where you have to stop and fight the SWAT guys. It's unavoidable. But anyway, yeah, combat sucks. It intentionally sucks. It's designed to suck. So with that in mind, I just wish they would have made it easier to avoid fighting people, and then I wouldn't even have to bitch about things like the ammo and the timing for the disarming moves. Another thing a lot of people talk about is the story. A lot of people think the story is too bland, it's too confusing, it doesn't tell you anything. And I didn't really have too much of a problem with the story either. The backstory for the main character is serviceable. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. You're not going to be shocked, but it gets the job done. And it's true that you don't really learn what package you're carrying at the beginning of the game that makes the cops come after you. But really, it doesn't matter. It's really just a device to get the first level going, and then it shifts over to a different story where there's a murder mystery and a cover-up conspiracy. And again, it's okay. I mean, it kept me interested enough, at least to understand why I'm going through all these different levels. And I know it's kind of the point of the game to run through these different environments, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have a reason for doing it, and I appreciated that. My only real problem with the story is that it takes itself way too seriously. Now, I didn't mind it at first, but by the time you get to the later levels and you're being chased by ninja cops through a parkour training course, I mean, you can't expect me to take that with a straight face. And I didn't. I mean, as soon as this big door opens up and you're being chased onto this extreme sport parkour obstacle course where all the cops start flipping around and doing jump kicks at you, I honestly started laughing my balls off. It was just too much. I mean, look, I don't mind having a dramatic story that's performed seriously, but know your limits. Personally, I think my limit is with Kung Fu Free Running Ninja Police. Oh, and these guys will piss you off too. I mean, they block all your hits so you can't knock them out, and you never have an opportunity to get a weapon when they're around, so you can't shoot them. All you can really do is run away, and if you slow down for an instant, they'll gang up on you really quickly, which prevents you from being able to look around and figure out where you're going. So you'll usually end up just trying different directions with each run through until you finally find the path that allows you to not die. And that's the part I'm stuck on right now. I finally got so frustrated that I shut the game off, and it's really hard to get psyched up enough to get back to it. And the most frustrating thing is, I'm on like the second to last level. You'd think I'd be able to push through it just for the sake of beating the game, but I really don't know if I can. In the end, my feelings about this game are very mixed at the very least. I like the main character, I like the story well enough, and I love the idea of a first-person parkour game. Now, a lot of people think it shouldn't be in first person, but it really adds to the rush you get when you're leaping across rooftops. I just wish something could be done about the enemies. I mean, that's the one thing that's killing the experience for me right now. Don't take out all the enemies, but don't make the game impossible either. I mean, in the end, I honestly don't know if I would call this a good game. However, I think it's original and unique enough that it deserves to be supported. I really hope EA is paying attention here. I don't want to discourage them from making original games like this, but they really need to understand what kind of game they're trying to make. I know that first-person shooters are popular right now, but trying to shoehorn shooter elements and overly difficult enemies doesn't work in a game that is decidedly not a shooter. Now, I would love to see more games like this if developers would just focus the design on what the game is actually about.